function on Friday night in the Bowls New Zealand annual general meeting, and we're going to recap and answer a few questions which we've got in front of us, and we're going to talk about a few things as well that have happened and about to happen. So the awards night on Friday night.
We should apologise for the technical delay, shouldn't we?
Yes, we should, I suppose.
We
yes,
should.
yes.
But we're here now, so,
Yeah, we're here.
Thank you, Aaron. We're all good to go. Sorry, we're talking about what, awards evening?
The second awards function at Eden Park on Friday night?
Yeah, a really good awards evening. It's nice to acknowledge, especially in the volunteer side of our game, to acknowledge those people that have contributed to the game. So it was, we were able to award the club person of the year to Maureen, and the club of the year to Bolza Rewa. I think they were two very special awards. We also got the opportunity to acknowledge the para.
There was a lovely
athletes.
touch, I thought. There was a lovely touch there.
Yeah. So they got their caps for those that have been selected to the Commonwealth Games. I thought that was really, really special. And then we had the High Performance Awards. It was, in case people hadn't caught up, Shannon McElroy achieved or won the Supreme Award as well. So it was a really, really good evening. Nice vibe. Nice to acknowledge also some of our stakeholder partners as well.
Yes, because the representatives there, of course, and some of the sponsors and that, which is always good to have them along, isn't it? And
really,
thank you.
Yeah, really, really important to do that. And I think this is only the second year. I think we look to make it bigger again. We're really happy. I mean, Aaron's done a terrific job in terms of the presentation of the event. I think over the next few years, maybe just look to see if people are interested in coming in and attending that awards and make it the more the merrier.
I think as well, which is very good, when Jeff Bryan read out the CV and achievements of both Shannon and Joe Edwards as two examples, and some of the other finalists, that we have got at that top end, we've certainly got some players who are up there with the best in the world, aren't they? No doubt about that.
Yeah, we do, absolutely do. But we also acknowledge the development players, those coming through there as well. We got to acknowledge a couple of two new people to the Hall of Fame. I thought that was special for the evening. It's just it's a sports in general. We do this, acknowledge and recognise people, and an event like that for Bowls New Zealand, I think, is really, really important on our calendar.
So now, and then of course Saturday morning the AGM, and for those who don't know, I think it's fantastic to put it out there that the life membership awarded to Anne Muir of Northland. Anne has been an absolute stalwart of the sport, both playing, administration, management, president of Bowls New Zealand. In fact, I had the pleasure, I think it was last year, the Kensington Club put on a surprise evening, This Is Your Life program, of which Marley and I both were invited up to. Anne had no idea that this function was going to be going on, and some of the ladies from Kensington took her out for a while and arrived back at the Kensington Bowling Club that night, turned the lights on, and here's the club full of people to honour what Anne had done in this Is Your Life format, and certainly a worthy recipient of a life membership.
Yeah, look, the one thing I'll add on Anne's behalf is that she hasn't retired.
No,
she hasn't
Made
retired.
that known.
So yes, she's very. I'd like to think she's, and she is. She's very chuffed to be honoured with a life membership for Bowls New Zealand, but she's still playing bowls out there, coaching and volunteering. So well done, Anne.
Yeah, and so then we went on to the rest of the annual meeting, and I think the biggest thing, Mark, besides a new president and a new vice president, was that of the new format of capitation fees, which has been adopted.
Yeah, well, it's now called an affiliation fee. It's a club affiliation fee. So we've talked about this for a number of years now, certainly the last 2 years, to come up with a model. So the delegates, which were all 27 centres, voted on Saturday, and they voted that we would move from a player capitation or player levy, as many would know it, to simply a club affiliation fee. So that has been adopted quite overwhelmingly, which is a real positive, I think, for our sport. So we'll look to adopt that in the summer of 2020, so end of 2020 in terms of how we levy fees. So it won't impact this year round. So it's there, new models in. What it does do though is it will now open up how clubs may want to define membership and charge levies and their own, within their own clubs, because there's no levy from Bowls New Zealand anymore for a member. So you don't, if you want to charge $10 for a membership, you can do.
So what it's really done is it's opening the sport up to virtually a one invoice scenario based upon your club, and
Yes.
then you decide how you want it, and the centres obviously presume as well, they decide,
I'll pick up on that point in a minute.
what they want to do. But
Yeah, no, well, it is. Yeah, absolutely. So the centres now, they currently follow the per member levy capitation. So they have a decision to make over the next 12, 24, 36 months or whenever as to whether they're going to move with us and adopt the affiliation, the one fee per club, or stay with the existing model. They have a decision to make. My counsel to them on Saturday in the AGM was, don't rush it. Take your time, discuss it with your membership, and then make your decision. You don't need to hurry it.
So for those out there who, like the communication I had over the weekend delivered to me, was that clubs don't have to worry about whatever it was per head that they have played in the past, right? And questioning a whole lot of things around it. It's now one set fee based on a criteria which is set by Bowls New Zealand and invoiced as a whole to the club.
As a whole to the club. Yeah, so that is the Bowls New Zealand side of things though. They still have to account back to the centre for their membership levies, their per member levies, until the centre decides to change their model.
I was a bit surprised on Saturday morning at the AGM that it seems that right around the country in various areas there's still clubs have various sorts or structures of membership.
Yep.
Of what you are and what you can do and what you can sort of play in, which just seems a wee bit out of kilter in today's environment.
Oh, a little bit. I think though that it's acknowledging that our clubs need to be quite flexible in their communities in terms of the membership that they offer. There are clubs out there that are offering dual bowls and fishing or dual bowls and darts
Correct.
membership,
Yes,
etc.
yes,
And
yes.
and we're moving into that space. Whereas in the 70s and 80s, it was you had your bowls membership and it was just the
Correct.
bowls membership.
Absolutely.
Nowadays, our clubs are primarily community facilities.
And we want them to be.
And therefore the membership offering is often a bit more than
Yeah,
just
true.
the bowls
Absolutely.
component.
Absolutely.
And I think the clubs have been adapting, but Bowls New Zealand hasn't been moving with that.
I think the other interesting thing which also came out of the meeting, which you put forward and has now been agreed to, is that we're certainly going to see a lot more communication from Bowls New Zealand direct to the club, which is virtually going direct to the bowler, so to speak, isn't it? Instead of it going to the centres, there's going to be a lot more. And we saw, I think, last week that first e-newsletter that was put together.
Yep.
So we're going to see a lot more communication directly from Bowls New Zealand to the 400 odd clubs around New Zealand.
Yeah. We've got to ensure that we don't overstep the mark there too. So the centre has almost a sovereignty over the clubs within a region. But yeah, I think us communicating directly with clubs and building that relationship is a positive one. And where a club needs additional resource that a centre's not able to provide, that's an opportunity for us to assist and help.
Well, I think the other big plus to me, Mark, is that because we've got some bigger centres, medium centres, and smaller centres. What it's going to do, I think, is going to enable a consistent message go out all at the same time to the uniform environment of the sport. It is difficult for some centres, that volunteers, all sorts of things, to be able to always get the message out there to their clubs and their members. So by Bowls New Zealand doing this, now again, I come back to the point of this fee that they're playing. This is another service, of course, which Bowls New Zealand are going to be giving to those clubs, isn't it?
Yeah, look. Your greater point though is that us communicating with clubs, so the 485 clubs, is a good step forward. We still have a challenge though, in terms of how we communicate with the players themselves, with the
Correct.
members themselves. So we need to, and we are working on things in that regard. We're looking at a player handicap type grading system that we're developing around membership, etc. But we need to try and figure out how we communicate to the end customer, which is the player, through the clubs, through the centres, or however. But at least this next step, which is us communicating directly with clubs, is a step in the right direction.
I think so, and it was endorsed at the AGM, so that highlights it. So,
Yeah.
a new president, a new vice president.
Yeah, new president, new vice president, and also the board. The AGM instructed the board to second an additional board member as well.
Yes.
Female. So there'll be 3 new board members, 2 of which have been announced. So Jan Tucker from Dunedin. I'm sure she reliably told me she was from Auckland at one stage there in the thing. So, Jan's is coming on board as vice president and on the board. And Mark O'Connor from Wellington will be the president of Bowls New Zealand as well. So we welcome both of them. We acknowledge too, though, the services of Robin Jefferson from Gisborne and all he's contributed to the board and to the game. And Jeanette Sinclair as president. She did a wonderful job of being president for the last 2 years, getting around the country. So it's nice to have. It's always nice to have new faces in governance. I think that's important, but we should. And we do acknowledge those that have contributed.
Yeah, I think it's only right that we do endorse that. I know it was done at the AGM, but I'm sure all the people watching this and in the clubs, it's their opportunity now that for us to say Jeanette did a fantastic job in her visibility around the clubs and events, and that friendly, smiling face, and always there to do something. And Jeanette, you've been a credit to the role over the 4 years you've been there, and on behalf of bowlers. Thanks for everything that you've done. You've done a wonderful job as president.
Yeah, look, and Robin, in terms of that vice president. Now, Robin's going through some pretty tough times at the moment, and our thoughts are with him and the family at the moment. But Robin contributed equally over the last 2 years to our sport and to the change, and I without putting it back on myself, but I've appreciated the support of both of them. As we've looked
we
to
need
create
those
some
people,
change.
don't we?
Yeah,
we need those people out there. So, other than that, at the AGM, really, a healthy financial result, an increase in membership slightly, which is a plus. That's 2 years in a row, isn't it? We've had now an increase in membership, a good financial result, but with some notations that were expressed at the AGM going forward relative to that. So the sport, so to speak, recorded a good year, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a good year. It's now available online, shall we say, with our annual report. A good year financially. Our numbers are looking good. But you can't rest on that sort of stuff. We've got to keep pushing forward and promoting change and moving with the times.
And building more commercial partnerships, which you spoke about on Saturday, and strengthening our existing commercial partnerships and building more, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's just the modern world we live in.
Yeah, and if we're to be successful from a national body's perspective, if we are to be successful, then we need to lessen our reliance on affiliation membership and gaming grants. And build these commercial partnerships, and that's why we're blessed with a number of partnerships within our sport, and we look forward to adding 2 or 3 more on over the next 12 months as well.
So we had a couple of questions that have been posed to us relative to that of the first over 60s, which I think it's been exciting, this announcement of the over 60s, and now back on the calendar, so to speak, of the international.
I didn't see your application.
No, I saw it. No, definitely. The players that have been selected are certainly way above my capabilities.
That's fine.
And I think from obviously from the selectors' point of view, it would have been a very challenging role, I would say, selecting 5 men and 5 women for that over 60s Trans-Tasman
I reckon it would have been harder than selecting the Blackjacks. much harder. However, we acknowledge those that have put their names up, and well done to those that have been selected, and we hope you do us proud. I suspect it's not the end of the over 60s. This isn't just going to be a one-off. Australia are very, very keen to have a regular international program at the over 60s level. So it's good. We should though say that those that have been selected are those that put their name in the hat. Thank you, because it is user pays.
Yes, it is.
We're not. We don't, as a national body, we don't have the ability to fund that level of international competition. We'd like to, but the money's just not there. So thank you to those athletes. do we still call them athletes at over 60?
Well, I think so, because
Yeah.
a number of those players are still actively, and they'll be playing in the
Of
nationals.
course we do. Of course we call them athletes. Well answered. Yeah, thank you for them for putting their name up and helping.
Oh, I think the other thing that I like about the team is that we're seeing some players recognised who, in my days of playing, were sort of there but not there, and I refer to the likes of Kevin Robinson, Ray Park, Reen Stratford, Bev Corbett of the Waikato, and now they're getting a chance to sort of put the New Zealand shirt on, so to speak. And
look, it's motivation for the Riverhead Junior Champion for a few years' time to make a New Zealand team. So
yeah,
with that, I've got a few years to get myself up.
Well,
to
here's the
scratch.
Riverhead team going to Taranaki Open Forwards.
Oh, I've heard that rumour as well. Yes, yes.
Now, also we had a question relative to the retirement villages and Bowls New Zealand, and where we're sort of going, faced what we're looking at, and
Yeah. I mean, we get this question often. You know, there's a friend or foe thing sometimes with the retirement village. I think people's perception. I and Bowls New Zealand are very much in the camp of friend. Retirement villages are our friends. You know, there's 97 greens in retirement villages around the country. That's
a significant number.
It's a huge number. There's a huge number of people playing the game of bowls within those villages. Now we need to, we as in clubs, centres, Bowls New Zealand, you know, what a market. We should be tapping into that market.
Certainly is.
And building those friendships. Now we're blessed, Bowls New Zealand, in our community. We have a number of partners who look after us, but you know, notably, you know, unashamedly from my perspective, Somerset Retirement Villages.
Of course.
You know, it's and they very much, as do we, see it as a win-win, the partnership.
So is it a situation, I suppose, really, Mark, where here's an ideal opportunity for centres to tap in and get that synergy working together, whether it be I don't know, what would you call it, an inter-club between the retirement villages and because a number of those members, number of those people in retirement villages are member of clubs. I know in Tauranga there's a number.
Oh, I think, and a number could be a number. You know, there could be more as well. I think a little bit of the centre, but a lot of the clubs as well. You know, there seems to be a new retirement village popping up on every corner these days.
Well, there is. I just read the Somerset magazine just recently, and
they've got 4 or 5, I think, that are on the go at the moment.
So they've got big plans to still go ahead building more, haven't they?
And what a partnership. So when you're thinking, I don't know, there might be 300, 400, 500 people in some of those villages, you know, and you're the club that's 5 minutes or 3 minutes or whatever it is down the road. What a market to tap into.
I wonder whether, so North Harbour, is it not hosting those Masters games later on in the year? You know, I know Gary Banks is one who's very, you know, happy birthday, by the way, to Gary, happy 74th for another day. That is, so do players in that Masters have to be a member of a club, do they? So if let's say I'm at the...
Oh, I think, look, I don't know the exact details, but I'm pretty sure that there's flexibility there to get as many people playing. And I think that's, you know, and if we're to move this conversation on a little bit, is I'd say that what we do moving forward should not be limited by, you know, rules or definitions of membership. Let's try and get as many people playing our game as possible, and not burden them with structures.
Yeah, I agree.
And you know, and affiliate, and that's one of the biggest things about this new affiliation model is that I'm not now, you know, you can go and grab a new member of a club, and you're not up for Bowls New Zealand's capitation anymore.
Well,
so you don't have to try and recover that from day one. You could charge them $5.
And look, it's fair to say as well, what it eliminates is that sort of that invisible number behind the curtain, which bowlers, what are they doing with their money? What's the story? What's going on? Well, you've got rid of that invisible curtain, so to speak. There is. There's a club fee there, done and dusted.
Yep. And now the conversation's about what we do for your club, not what we do for your individual member. Because what is done for the individual member is actually from the club itself.
Correct.
It's not Bowls New Zealand. We can't, you know, I don't have the ability to interact with 40,000 members of bowling clubs.
So, Summer Bowls, just around the corner.
Yes.
Big year coming up.
Yes.
Big
Feels
year.
like it's been a big winter, let alone, and now we're heading into a summer.
Yeah, we're not far away.
No, so lots happening. Really pleased with where the live streaming, the video's going. So we're doing a lot of that now. We've got we're working with, I won't disclose all the partners now, but we're working with a number of partners to get bowls on TV bigger and better. Bowls 3.5 is just around the corner from a TV perspective. I think that's really, really exciting. October 22nd. I haven't seen Erin wave a hand at me to say no, that's not the date.
So it must be the date.
That must be the date. Somerset Nationals. There's, we've got a plethora of Summer of Bowls events through the calendar. There's so much happening. There's opening days. I'm getting invited to opening days all the time at the moment, and I wish I could say yes to them all, but I can't.
No, you can't, no.
Heck of a lot happening. International programs. We're trialling or piloting this new handicap rankings type system up in Northland this summer. It's a really, really, it's going to be a busy summer.
Well, it is. I've looked sort of at what is my diary in regards to the live streaming that we're going to be doing.
Yes.
And I haven't got time to play bowls anyway with that. Yeah, and so we will be bringing to you on some new platforms that Mark indicated. For example, we've got in November the Multi-Nations, which is the New Zealand side, in the Multi-Nations event over on the Gold Coast. We'll be bringing you bowl-by-bowl action as well of the Trans-Tasman, which immediately follows that. I'm going to Nelson again to cover the Stoke Invitation Peers, and we're trying to get someone to cover, because I'll be in Japan the week of the Stokes Women's Singles, so we're trying to get something underway there. So there's going to be some major events. I'm going into Taranaki shortly to help them to get their live streaming underway.
Yes.
I hear the Komaramara Bowling Club up here in Auckland have recently acquired a whole lot of equipment.
So you'll be commentating there as well, will you?
I'm meeting with Auckland Bowls to discuss what they. Well, I think, Mark, the energy's there, which is great.
Yeah.
But as we know, from when we started doing the live streaming to where we are now, there's a lot to learn to get it right to make it a good product.
Yeah, there is, and it's not the end of it too. The reality is, and I'll pare it back a little bit and say that, our summer's all about delivering the game, actually about getting people out there playing, whether that's business house, social events, Christmas functions, Saturday bowls, tournaments, etc. And what we're doing is almost the icing on the top.
Correct.
We're providing some streaming, telling some stories, etc. I think that's great, but the game at that delivery level is what we should be remembering through the summer. Is that we need to deliver the game.
Correct, and I think what we've seen in the last 2 years, we've now seen with the Summer of Bowls, we've now seen a number of events around the country who want to get that profile, who want to, I saw on Facebook just last night the opening of the Okato Bowling Club in Taranaki and the Vogeltown Bowling Club. Here they are putting up their opening day on Facebook. And so we are seeing far more club activity, which is what we want to see, isn't it?
Yeah. Look, and look, if there's one thing I'm really pleased about in the last 12, 18, 24 months, is the amount of communication that's starting to happen, that's happening in our sport, whether that's website, Facebook, streaming, newsletters, whatever it might be, or just word of mouth. People are talking about our game, and by and large, they're talking about it in a really positive manner. And I think that's exciting, because when people are talking about your game, your game.
Absolutely.
Is okay.
So entry to the Nationals, the Christchurch, the singles and pairs, correct?
Singles and pairs are open. I think the fours might even be open as well. Looking across, and the answer was yes.
So it is open, yeah.
And if you're a Tower customer, you get a $20 discount. So
there you go.
Tower, or if you want to fill out a referral form, I think you also get the $20. So get your entries in for that. We look forward to Nationals and Christchurch being a terrific event. But there's any number of other events around the country over the summer.
There is. And I think what we are going to see with the Nationals, the pairs and singles, there's, from what the feedback I've had, we're going to see a number of our leading New Zealand players who, because it's an important event for them as well, building up to the World Bowl. So I'm sure we're going to see a number of those in attendance. So get your entries in. There's an incentive as well with Tower to get your entries in. And of course other events as well, like the Taranaki Open Fours. I see their posters have been delivered on the weekend at the annual meeting. The Taranaki Open Fours are on again in January. Get your entries in for all these tournaments.
Oh, they're all over the place. I think Remuera's got one this weekend, don't they?
Yeah, they have.
They've got their opening of their new covered facility.
They have. They've got that.
Look, there's a heck of a lot of events around the country. Get out and play bowls.
So, yeah, I think that really wraps it up for Mark and myself, and we're looking forward to keeping you updated right throughout the year of the activity, of what's going on. I think we're starting, well, no, I don't think, I know that we're starting on a positive vein after the awards function, annual meeting, some changes, the international scene, the live streaming, and I think we're in for a big year.
Yeah, keep your questions rolling in though as well.
Absolutely.
It's important that we get some feedback, positive and negative. Just ask questions because it's hard to, when you're sitting in an office sometimes, you just don't know, you don't quite get a sense of everything out there.
Yeah, so and you mentioned before, just in closing, you mentioned about the communication. What I'd say out to the bowlers out there who may look at this now, look at it later, whenever, talk to your club mates about what we've been talking about and the things that are going on, and let's not be frightened of bringing your, whether it be constructive criticism or idea. Let's put it on the table. Let's not just have the old barroom, backroom talk. Let's get it out there, because we have seen with some of the feedback.
Only the better barroom, backroom talk, though, eh? We don't need all barroom, backroom talk.
But we have seen, Mark, some changes get put in place after clubs, individuals, whatever, have put forward suggestions.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this new database we're talking about that we're piloting with Northland's a good example. Initially, we started down a path of creating a ranking for every bowler in the country in singles, pairs, triples, and fours. But then we started talking, and I can assure you there's a lot of bar talk in this talking. And then we've actually moved the whole discussion to more, it's not actually about your ranking, it's about how you perform on the green. So the database, we're looking to build a profile of you as a bowler now and go, when you skip in a triples, you win 87% of the games. When you're playing on artificial with Stan over there, you win 99% of your games. And starting to tell a story about you as a bowler, and then deliver for you a handicap rating.
Well, it's great as well for club selectors and representative selectors. They can get an overview of how players are looking. And
but it's more about you as a bowler. It's more about telling you a story. So I know now that I'm really, I could, based on my stats.
Listen to this, people.
Yeah, I may be really bad when I lead in triples. Because that's not my game, and actually these stats help to verify that, and it's something I might want to work with. But the conversation there was we've moved from a rankings to this more about a player profile, and who knows whether the barroom conversation will take us in 6 or 12 months again. We may well find there's something better coming out.
And that's why, even like for the people up in Northland running the pilot, if you've got any feedback, let's have it, because that's what it's all about. So that's us for the September catch-up, and we hope you enjoyed, both Mark and myself. Our pleasure to bring this to you, and we'll be back more than likely while the Rugby World Cup's on at some point before I go to Japan. We'll have another catch-up, and
I'll be watching it on Prime, but you enjoy Japan, okay?
And talk about a number of the exciting things which are happening in our sport.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. Cheers.